Hello, and welcome to this safety orientation video. I'm Paul Rivers, the president and CEO of Challenger Geomatics. Challenger's been around for 40 years. Since 1984, safety has been one of the core values of Challenger. It's a core value because we often work in tight teams, and we want to make sure that everyone gets home at the end of the day with the rest of their life unimpacted by what takes place at work. We all have things bigger than what's going on within Challenger, and we don't expect you to compromise the rest of your life to get a project done or to meet client needs. And so that's really what me putting safety first means to me, is that you're not going to be impacted outside of work by what happens inside work. So we go to sites, we assess the hazards. If we can't deal with the hazards, we don't do the work. Often we can deal with the hazards, but we can't rush into work either because of client needs or perception that we need to hurry up and get the work done. There's always time to do work safely, and there's not always a way to do work safely. And if that's the case, we won't do the work. So I want to encourage all of you to keep an eye out for other workers on site, your coworkers, and especially yourself. If you think, this doesn't seem right, let's not do it. Slow down, talk to your project manager, talk to safety. Let's figure out how to do the work safely and then do it. Thanks, and welcome to Challenger.
Responsibility for safety and workers' rights. Under the Provincial Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations, there are obligations and responsibilities for employers, workers, and suppliers. Their general obligations and responsibilities are: workers shall take reasonable care to protect the health and safety of themselves and others. If a serious injury occurs at a worksite, the employer shall conduct an investigation and notify occupational health and safety. No worker shall carry out any work if they believe there is an imminent danger to the health and safety of themselves or others. Where work is to be done that may endanger any worker, the employer must ensure that the work is done by a competent worker. It is the responsibility of each Challenger employee to work safely by following the rules of the job. Challenger's responsibilities for your safety are to ensure safety meetings are held, ensure that first aid personnel are available, maintain emergency procedures, inspect and maintain equipment and tools, and take action to correct any non-compliances. It is your obligation as an employee to understand your role regarding safety. At the end of this video, please familiarize yourself with the Health and Safety Responsibilities section in the Safety Manual. As a worker, you have the right to participate in health and safety committees, know and be informed of hazards and receive training on safe work procedures, and refuse unsafe work. Field Level Hazard Assessments, or FLHA. A Field Level Hazard Assessment, or FLHA for short, is an evaluation of your workplace and your work tasks to determine the potential for injury to you or your coworkers, or the potential for damage to property or equipment while performing your job. An assessment needs to be completed before every workday starts. You will need to update your FLHA every time conditions or tasks on the worksite change. There are 3 main steps in filling out an assessment. 1. Documenting the tasks at hand. 2. Listing the hazards associated with each task. And 3. Identifying the controls to mitigate the hazards. Crews will hold regular ongoing meetings such as brief daily or weekly toolbox meetings to discuss new or upcoming on-site tasks, as well as changes to current activities. The hazard assessment, elimination, and control is to be used for assistance and documentation. You will receive specific training on how to complete a hazard assessment form properly. Safe work practices and safe job procedures. Safe work practices are step-by-step instructions for doing work the right way and safely. Getting a job done safely means that people involved follow safe work practices, job procedures, rules, and regulations. Safe job procedures are a written step-by-step description of how to do a job from start to finish. Written job procedures are used to train new workers and should be used by workers as a reference for complex jobs or for jobs that are not done very often. If you are completing a task that you are not familiar with, you should be referring to the procedure or practice that it relates to when creating your field level hazard assessment. Some examples of safe job procedures and safe work practices are working in cold weather, operations in potential presence of H2S gas, ground disturbance, confined space entry, cutting line, planting iron bars, traversing steep side slopes, plant site parking, fall protection, and working in lightning storms. How to operate a vehicle at Challenger. Only authorized drivers should be operating Challenger vehicles. Authorized drivers have met the requirements of Challenger's driver authorization program. In addition, you must be fit for duty in order to operate any vehicle. Step 1. Perform a 360-degree walk-around of the vehicle, checking for hazards. Step 2. Upon getting into the vehicle, 1. Put your cell phone into the console. 2. Adjust your seat, steering wheel, and mirrors. And 3. Remember that your seatbelt is to be worn at all times while in the vehicle. It is important to remember that while operating company vehicles, employees must abide by the rules of the road at all times, including driving to posted speed limits, driving to road conditions, and, on a job site, giving large equipment the right-of-way. Employees are also expected to switch on the deer alarm when driving in rural areas. Remember, at all times, smoking is only permitted in designated areas, not in company vehicles. How to use a fire extinguisher.
Chances are you will go through your entire working career and never have to use a fire extinguisher. Chances are you will never have to use one while on the road, but there should be one in your vehicle. Have you inspected it lately? Close your eyes for a second. Can you point to the nearest fire extinguisher? Where is the second nearest one? No matter where you happen to be, you should always know the location of the nearest extinguisher. Go take a look at it. Has it been inspected? Fire extinguishers should be inspected regularly and at least once a month. Even if your company inspects them, you should look them over to make sure they meet 3 requirements. 1. Is the extinguisher charged? The pressure should always be at the recommended level. On extinguishers equipped with a gauge, the needle should be in the green zone, not too high and not too low. 2. Are all extinguishers mounted correctly? The top of an extinguisher should never be mounted higher than 60 inches above the floor surface, and the bottom of an extinguisher should never be closer than 4 inches above the floor. They should never be used as door props or paperweights. They are not coat hangers or tool hooks. 3. Are they unobstructed and easily accessed? Never place anything in front of a fire extinguisher. In the event of an emergency, we can't waste time trying to find the extinguisher that's hidden by a box or impossible to reach because it's behind a piece of equipment. Most fire standards recommend that a clear and unobstructed path to the extinguisher be maintained at all times, with the access being at least 2 to 3 feet wide. They cannot be hidden behind doors, cabinets, or anything else. There are 2 important things to remember if you ever need to use an extinguisher. First, make sure that you never place yourself in a position where the fire is between you and a safe exit. Keep the fire in front of you and the safe exit at your back. And second, remember the pass system. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. When you need to use the extinguisher, first pull the safety pin from the handle. Then, aim the extinguisher nozzle at the base of the fire. This is the spot where the flames are touching the fuel source. Next, squeeze the handle to activate the extinguisher. And finally, sweep the spray back and forth across the target. Continue until the fire is out. If you are unsure that you can put the fire out, evacuate the area. Thanks for watching and have a safe day.
Challenger safety rules. The following general safety rules apply to all Challenger personnel. 1. Incidents, injuries, unsafe conditions, and near misses, regardless of their nature, shall be promptly reported to your supervisor. 2. You are not permitted to arrive or remain at work if your ability to perform the job safely is impaired. 3. All workers must wear appropriate personal protective equipment or PPE when and where required. 4. Workers must perform all work following safe work practices and safe job procedures. 5. Operate all vehicles and equipment in accordance with safety rules and all applicable regulations. 6. No consumption or possession of alcohol or illegal drugs is permitted while at the workplace or at a work site. 7. No fighting, practical jokes, or horseplay is permitted at the workplace. 8. No theft or vandalism will be tolerated at the workplace. 9. No interference in any way with safety, firefighting, or first aid equipment will be tolerated. 10. Workers must maintain good housekeeping. 11. Smoking is permitted in designated areas only. Smoking is not permitted in Challenger fleet vehicles. 12. Attend and actively participate in regular safety meetings. Disciplinary process. Violations of Challenger's health and safety program will not be tolerated. Challenger has set out a disciplinary process consisting of 3 steps. First, you will receive a verbal warning. Second, you will receive a written warning. Third, you will receive a final written warning, which may be accompanied either by a suspension or termination. Personal protective equipment, or PPE. The 5 basic PPE items that employees must wear are a hard hat, safety boots, safety glasses, gloves, and reflective outerwear. Depending on the job and the tasks, you may require specialized PPE. Specialized PPE might include hearing protection, fall protection, fire retardant outerwear, respiratory protection, gas monitors, flotation devices, or traction aids. PPE is always required to be worn while working. However, it is important to remember that PPE is not your first line of defense. A comprehensive and accurate FLHA should always be in place to identify hazards. You are required to inspect your PPE on a regular basis and ensure it is in good working order. If you are asked to complete a task that will require specialized PPE, please ask your project manager for these items. Maintenance program. The expectation is that tools and equipment be in good repair. If something is damaged or defective, identify it and remove it from service immediately and notify your field resource manager. It is also expected that all manufacturer requirements be followed. Party chiefs assigned to any work vehicle are responsible for its upkeep and scheduled maintenance. The calendar of our required maintenance for each piece of equipment requiring service can be found in the safety manual in the maintenance program section. Safety committee and meetings. Effective communication is an important part of any health and safety program. To be effective, communication must flow through the company in both directions, from senior management through to the employees and back again. In order to maintain this communication flow, supervisors will take action on legitimate concerns raised by employees, as well as provide feedback on issues. Effective communication is achieved by employee participation in the following: monthly safety meetings, daily pre-job meetings, incident information sharing, field level risk assessment, orientations, task observations, and worksite health and safety committees. Health and safety committees are an important means of communication, assisting in the identification of workplace hazards and corrections. They give management and employees an opportunity to directly communicate and share health and safety concerns and solutions with each other, and foster active participation at all levels. The committee includes management and non-management members and will meet once a month on a designated day. Safety training. We will ensure that you are provided with any health and safety training that is required. The general health and safety training that you will be required to complete includes first aid, H2S Alive, Construction Safety Training System, or CSTS for short, Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, or WHMIS for short, Transportation of Dangerous Goods, or TDG for short, and ground disturbance. Depending on project requirements, you may be required to obtain additional specialized health and safety training, which may include fall protection, confined space, or ATV. You are required to carry your safety tickets with you at all times while on company business. It is every employee's responsibility to ensure that they have the necessary training and that all safety training remains current. If any of your safety training certificates are due to expire, you must contact your supervisor or the safety advisor for your office to let them know. Inspections. Self-inspections are to be completed in order to confirm that you have the equipment needed for your assigned tasks and that your equipment is in good working order. This helps us comply with our maintenance program. The monthly self-inspection checklist must be completed for each self-inspection. The completed checklist is then sent to the field resource manager. If anything is found to be missing or in poor repair during your inspection, this should be documented in the corrective actions section of the checklist, and you must notify your field resource manager immediately. Self-inspections must be completed by each crew at least once every month. You are also responsible for inspecting your own PPE, including specialized items, on a regular basis. If you are using fall protection, these inspections must be completed and documented before each use. Each crew, along with their equipment, will undergo a complete safety audit by the safety advisor or project manager at a minimum of once per year. Incident reporting. An incident is an unplanned event that adversely affects the completion of a task. If an incident occurs, regardless of the severity, it must be reported to your project manager as soon as it is safe to do so. Near misses are an opportunity to avoid an incident later, so it is important to report them to your project manager. In the event of an incident, an investigation will occur. It is important to investigate the incident to find its causes. Incidents are not investigated to assign blame, rather, they are done to ensure that previously controlled hazards relating to an injury or incident do not remain a risk, and also to determine if training or changes in PPE used or procedures are required to make the work process safer. Fatigue management policy. Challenger has a fatigue management policy to address the issue of fatigue in the workplace and mitigate its hazards through awareness and training assessment. Including travel time, the typical shift for Challenger's field employees is 10 to 12 hours daily. Daily work hours are considered from when you leave the office, hotel, camp, or otherwise agreed upon location until you return to the same location at the end of your shift. The Journey Vehicle Fatigue Form, or JVF for short, is used to assess and document workers' level of fatigue. The fatigue assessment section of the JVF form is to be completed by all crew members at the start of every day, as well as before a journey of 2 hours or more. The Vehicle 360-degree checklist is to be completed at the start of every day. These forms are to be submitted to the safety department upon completion. The field crew's responsibilities in managing fatigue are to report fit for work and document fitness for work on the field level hazard assessment. Inform your supervisor if your workday is likely to go over 12 hours. Do not work more than 12 hours without obtaining consent from your supervisor. Communicate any fatigue issues to your supervisor. And complete the fatigue risk assessment section of the JVF card daily. Field crews are also responsible for monitoring themselves and others for signs of fatigue, such as yawning, long eye blinks or frequent blinks, moodiness, slow speech, low energy, lack of concentration, or slower reaction time. Drug and alcohol policy. In addition to the previously mentioned policies, Challenger also has a documented policy and program to address drug and alcohol testing. Our drug and alcohol policy states that the use, possession, distribution, purchase, or sale of any illegal drugs or other controlled substances by any persons is prohibited. The unauthorized use, possession, transportation, or sale of alcoholic beverages is prohibited. And being under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or controlled substances is prohibited. There are 6 responsibilities that apply to all employees. 1. Have an understanding of the drug and alcohol policy. 2. Take responsibility to ensure your own safety and the safety of others. 3. Ensure that work standards are complied with as part of your obligation to perform work activities in a safe way. 4. Cooperate with Challenger and get appropriate treatment if deemed necessary. 5. Use medications responsibly, be aware of potential side effects, and notify your supervisor of any unsafe side effects. And 6. Encourage peers or coworkers to seek help when there is a violation of policy. There are 3 situations when you might be asked to submit to a drug and alcohol test while working for Challenger. First, for pre-access, or prior to working on specific work sites or for clients on work sites. 2. Post-incident, or after an incident has occurred. And 3. When there is reasonable cause. Employees who test positive for drugs or alcohol will be disciplined, up to and including termination. Once the company has been provided a positive test result, the employee will be immediately suspended without pay and remain suspended until such time as they meet with a substance abuse expert who clears the employee to return to work. Should the company permit the employee to return to work, the return to work process as outlined within the Drug and Alcohol Policy section of the Safety Manual will be followed. Employees are encouraged to come forward if they feel they have a substance abuse or addiction problem. Employees who request assistance on their own initiative will not be disciplined and will be put in contact with appropriate support. Emergency preparedness. Challenger has an emergency preparedness plan in effect. The emergency plan complies with occupational health and safety regulations and endeavors to recognize all types of probable emergencies, along with an action plan to reduce the severity of the situation or injury. Some examples of possible emergencies that would be included in our emergency preparedness plan include major injuries or health effects, major property loss, major environmental loss, acts of God such as floods and tornadoes, and bomb threats. What employees do in the first 4 minutes of an emergency situation can be critical. Things as simple as having a fire extinguisher in place and knowing how to use it, or knowing what to do and who to contact, can save lives and reduce loss. At a minimum, resources available to deal with emergency situations at the worksite should include providing first aid to the injured, providing the injured with transportation to medical aid, and promptly contacting outside agencies for assistance. Available resources. This orientation video has provided you with an overview of Challenger's policies, as well as general expectations regarding our health and safety practices. Employees are responsible for conducting a detailed review of all policies, safe work procedures, and safe work practices as it applies to their job with Challenger. There are several places where you will find descriptive policies, safe work procedures, safe work practices, and expectations. The company work vehicles are equipped with Challenger's Safety Manual, safety forms, and the OH&S Handy Guide. The company intranet site contains Challenger's Safety Manual, Challenger's Safety Policies, and all safety forms. Each of Challenger's offices have Challenger's Safety Manual posted on the safety bulletin boards, printed copies of Challenger's safety forms, and the OH&S Handy Guide. The OH&S Handy Guide can also be found by visiting the Provincial Occupational Health and Safety website. Now please review your safety manual and familiarize yourself with the following sections.